Hi, I'm Sydney Austin, and this is how the Enlightenment era stopped witchcraft. Before our religions were based on one God, humans believed in polytheistic religions and that the world was commanded by magical powers. Archaeologists have found evidence from over 17,000 years ago of the practice of magic in European societies. These practices were performed mostly by women, and to society, these women were known as witches. Women were seen to have the abilities to connect with unknown forces due to their capabilities of giving birth to children. Women were also seen as a special part of society. However, as Christianity began to spread all throughout Europe, upper classes started to convert to this new religion, while lower classes and peasants stuck to their own religion and beliefs. This was known as paganism. Early laws discouraged paganism in Europe. In 600 AD, the Christian Pope Gregory the Great stated that all gods of the heathens and demons should be punished. This statement, however, did not come into play until centuries after. Paganism was seen as a huge threat to the Roman Church in the 12th and 13th centuries. At this time, paganism was looked at as evil and malicious, and women who were once known as to give good health and fertility were now responsible for sterilization and disease. The main reason for the change of attitude toward witches is because church leaders announced that all spiritual acts against Christianity were associated with the devil. In addition, they also announced that witches were doing the work of the devil and that their powers were not coming from the Roman Catholic Church. This made witches anti-Christian and had to be eliminated. As witch hysteria began to take root, social crises such as the bubonic plague in 1934 raised suspicion on women, mostly women that were either unmarried or a widow. In the 13th century, the Roman Catholic Church started a judicial campaign known as the Inquisition that combined both church and government to erase non-believers of Christianity. Because Jewish people were non-believers of Christianity, many Jewish practices were looked at as works of the devil. For instance, Sabbath was thought of as a large meeting among the devil and witches instead of the Jewish day of rest. In 1320, witchcraft became a punishable offense. However, it wasn't until a century after when witches became the main target of this crime. In 1484, Pope Innocent VIII issued a papal bull stating the eradication of all witches and other heathens. This spread an anti-witch frenzy all over Europe. Due to this frenzy, a book called Malleus Maleficarum prevailed in Europe, giving people a way to detect, hunt, capture, and kill witches. Written by priests Jacob Springer and Heinrich Kramer, this also provided ways to torture those who were thought to be guilty of witchcraft. One use of torture was the stretching rack, known to stretch and tear their body limb from limb until they heard a confession from he or she who were guilty. Other ways of torture were to be gouging of the eyes, rape, or being disemboweled. Other ways to discover someone was a witch or not were through tests. One popular test was known as the water test. This required a person's arms and legs to be tied together and their body thrown in water. If the person sank, they were considered to pass the test. However, if they floated, they were considered a witch. Due to multi-layer clothing worn at this time, most floated, making this approach ineffective. Another test was known as the burning test. which had people up to stakes and burned. This was a test because witches were known to be associated with the devil, making them survive the fire. However, many did not survive the fire. This era is frequently known as the Burning Times. The war against witchcraft reached its peak between 1580 and 1660 AD, when the lax execution occurred in Switzerland on June 17, 1782. The estimated amount of deaths during this time is ranged from 100,000 to 9 million people. The main reason why the witch craze in Europe stopped is because of the Enlightenment era. The Enlightenment era had a huge effect on the way people saw witchcraft from a religious viewpoint. Due to the Enlightenment era, many began to see witchcraft as a curable disease instead of a crime. Many ruling elites decided to change the judicial system regarding witchcraft because of the fact that there is lack of evidence keeping the existence of witchcraft in society. Accusations also began to lessen due to living standards in the 7th and 8th century. This means that because of the increase of wealth, sanitation and quality of food became more relevant. The main stoppage of witchcraft because of the Enlightenment era was the change of attitude to a more rational and scientific view of the world. The growth of skepticism also made it increasingly difficult to obtain prosecution for witchcraft. All in all, the Enlightenment era had a huge impact on witchcraft and the stoppage of it, and who's to say how many more lives would have been taken if it wasn't for the Enlightenment era.